Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Monty, and y'all are watching Mont Games. And today is going to be a big one. We got Tekken, we've got HyperFixations, we've got Final Fantasy 2. We're going to eat hot jelly beans today. So many things to do, so many things to see. I'm excited. You're excited. Let's jump into it. But we're going to start off today with HyperFixations, which is our little pre-show that we do where I just talk about all the things that have been going on in my brain, all the things that have been occupying space in the motel of my mind palace, if you will. So we're going to begin with that. It's going to be fun and exciting. Let's jump in. Episode 10 of HyperFixations is about the Meg and Nikki rap beef, Keith Lee, Sourdough Starters, and Percy Jackson and Greek mythology, okay? We're going to be talking about that at the beginning of stream today, okay? So, Sourdough Starters. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, money? What are you talking about? Hey, what are you talking about? So I am talking about this thing on TikTok, at least on my TikTok, on my For You page. People are just scooping up these, like, this goo, right? This, bubbling, oozing, gelatinous goo, and they're showing it off to us, and they're calling it Sourdough Starters. And I was endlessly fascinated, right? I was endlessly fascinated by whatever this was. Because it's like, if you watch the videos, like, when they scoop it, like, all of these bubbles just kind of, like, break, and, like, it's just so, like, interesting to watch. It looks like an alien, you know what I mean? Baldur's Gate illithid, like, that's what the illithid parasites swim in. It feels like they swim in the sourdough starter. And I fell into this huge rabbit hole where I was just kind of like, what even is this? So basically, it has to do with, like, leavening the bread, right? Or making the bread rise, if you will. So on the left here, I'm just gonna show you guys what I knew about, or what I found out about the sourdough starter. So on the left side is called unleavened bread. So, like, it's kind of the bread that, like, a lot of religions use, right? And it's, like, in the Bible, all that stuff. But leavened bread is bread that's basically been allowed to rise using, like, yeast or something like that. So that's what you see over on the right side with all those, like, little tiny air bubbles, right? Those holes in the breading. So yeast is another common starter, right? And what it does is it turns the sugar in, like, flour and wheat, turns it into alcohol, which, like, dissolves away when you bake it. But it makes carbonated gas, which creates all of those air bubbles. Now, sourdough starter is different from it because it is like, it turns the sugar into carbonated gas and this thing called lactic and acetic acid, which gives that, like, sourdough that kind of sour taste, if you will, And so that's why it's, like, different. And, like, the process of it is just so fascinating. Like, basically, you just you there's, like, recipes on how to begin it, like, with the flour and the starters and all that stuff. But the thing that fascinates me is that you maintain it. You feed this thing like a pet. You feed this thing. You, like, some of the recipes that I found online, like, you, like, scoop flour and pour water into it twice a day, and you, like, stir just to feed the bacteria that is growing, that's going to kind of create that, like, that bubbliness, And it's like, to me, it reminded me of, like, how people, like, keep plants and they talk to plants and they, like, treat plants like pets and, like, family, you know what I mean? Like, those people, like, plant people. To me, this is what it felt like. To say that you're feeding your sourdough starter felt like that. And I was like, oh, what is this? It's so interesting. Could I do it? Probably not. No, I just don't have the time nor the patience to, like, feed a sourdough starter that I'm probably not going to use very often. But, like, people have maintained sourdough starters for, like, so long. And they just, like, take off whatever they need to make and bake whatever they need. It's so fascinating. So fascinating. Kudos to whoever can do this. Oh, here are my sources. Here are my sources, by the way, just to let y'all know. Here are my sources. Not MLA cited, sorry, but here are my sources. Okay. I gotta be really careful about this next one, okay? I gotta be really careful about this one. All I'll say is, I've been interested. I've been following it as much as I can, listening to everybody talking about, what's going on with this drama. I'm just fascinated. I'm fascinated by, I liked, the songs that came out, people discussing about, what's going on with Megan and Nikki. And all I'll say is I like both of them a lot. Right? I'm not gonna take a side. I'm not gonna mention a side, but I have found inspiration from both at some point in my life, and it fascinates me. And now Azealia Banks is a part of it, right? So if you don't know, here are the facts. Basically, Megan came out with a song, Hiss, and then which had like some lyrics in it that felt like disses, you know what I mean? That are disses. And Nikki came out with her song responding to a bunch of those disses, and people are taking one side or the next, right? So that's like the basic gist of it. That's the cliff notes of it. It's a rap beef. So I'm interested in it. It's, I think, the first rap beef that has happened that is so, I would say, is super prevalent during like the TikTok era, right? And so now a lot of people are talking about it, and it's interesting to me to hear people kind of discourse on what is happening with Nikki, you know what I mean? What is happening with Megan, and kind of like the shifting of the tides in the hip hop scene. I think it's so fascinating. So if you want to look into it. Is this a bread stream? These are hyperfixations. These are what my brain has been latched onto, Chris. Next is UMG versus TikTok. This one, I wanted to include it in hyperfixations just because I wanted to discuss something. Because I think it's so... There's some really interesting things going on with this. If you don't know, basically, UMG, Universal Music Group, which signs a whole bunch of artists, like below Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish, Olivia Rodrigo, Drake, Conan Gray, Gorillaz, like so many people are on their roster. They could not come to an agreement with TikTok and pulled all of their music from the app. And so basically, a lot of videos on TikTok have just been silenced, right? No more audios from these artists. They're gone. Dunzo, gone. And, both companies came out with their own statement about what's going on. But Universal came out with this statement saying that they couldn't come to terms, or they couldn't come to an agreement because of being able to pay them fairly and protections against AI. And there was some other stuff in there, but those are the ones that stuck out to me the most. I can't speak about whether or not they're paying them fairly or not, but I'm going to tell y'all this. I don't think they give a shit about the AI thing. I don't know. I think that big entertainment companies do not give a shit about the AI thing. And it sucks. To me, it's so... they will not hesitate. These big entertainment companies will not hesitate to dig you up from your grave if you die and use your voice from the past. You know what I mean? They did it with Peter Cushing in the Star Wars movies. They're planning on doing it with James Earl Jones when he passes, because I think he agreed to like continue voicing Darth Vader. I have no doubt in my mind. And like the other one I thought of was when they brought Tupac back for Coachella with a hologram, if you remember that way back when. So in my brain, I don't believe that any of these companies would blink an eye at using AI. I just don't. So I call BS on that part. I really agree with anyone who's saying that they wish that these companies would just come to agreement and would come to a place where we can just continue to create with, and like, I don't know, just talk about this music without all of this like mumbo jumbo. And like, copyright protection is important, but as a creator myself, I don't know. It just like it makes me sad. It makes me sad to go through like my favorites and find like all of my edits and like find that I just can't listen to the music there anymore. You know what I mean? I hope that they come to an agreement. That's my big thing. The main thing I want to talk about with this was just the AI thing, the AI angle. And hi, Lennox. Welcome. How are you? How are you doing? So, next thing on HyperFixations is the Keith Lee and the Sweetly Seasoned controversy, okay? So, if you don't know, here's the big basic cliff notes. Basically, Keith Lee, who is a food critic, went to Dallas? It was either Dallas or Houston, somewhere in Texas. Went to this restaurant called Sweetly Seasoned, and enjoyed it, gave a huge tip to like a bunch of people, right? I think he gave 1,000 to a guy who was like cutting hair outside. I think he gave 1,000 to the girl working behind the register. Gave 2,000 just to the restaurant itself, and then gave 800 to feed like everyone who's coming for the rest of the day, right? Really generous guy, really generous guy. Put a pin on that. I'm going to talk about that more in a second. But what Sweetly Seasoned did was basically they didn't do any of that. They kept the money. They didn't pay the barber who was like cutting hair. They didn't pay the girl who was working the register. They didn't pay for everybody who they didn't let Keith pay for everybody who was like coming after him. They just kept all the money. And it's shitty. If you hear people talk about it online, they're calling it blocking your blessing, blocking other people's blessings, and I agree 110%. I would recommend going to this girl's page, Sherelle S. Hodge. She can talk about it more in more detail. She'll show you text messages she shared with the owner and like just this huge controversy. She can explain it a whole lot better than I can. The angle that I want to come at it from is talking about Keith Lee. I've talked about Keith Lee on HyperFixations before, but I love this man. I love this man. I think it is rare to find someone as genuine, as wonderful, as a man full of honor and integrity as Keith Lee. In my opinion, no one deserves fame and power and riches as much as this man does. He is so endlessly generous, and seeing people take advantage of that is so icky. It just turns your stomach. But I really appreciate that. I wanted just to shine a light on it, shine a light on how rare and how wonderful such generosity is. So there's that. There's that. All right. Swinging back to something a little bit more fun, Greek mythology. My Greek mythology hyperfixation is back in full swing, ladies and gentlemen. Back in full swing. Because I'm reading these two books right now. Stone Blind is about Medusa and like the characterization of how she does the Perseus, Medusa and the Gorgons, Athene, I think is so fascinating in her book, so good. I'm listening to it on Audible, really nice. And I'm reading The Sun and the Star. I've told y'all I've been reading this, loving it. I'm loving it. I am I think 3/4 of the way through. Like, look at my annotations for this book. Sorry, I had to go fetch it. Look at my annotations for this book, dude. I'm loving this book so very much. The adventure that these two are going on, legendary. Love it. But since it has kickstarted my hyperfixations on mythology once again, I want to share with you guys some of my favorite Greek myths, right? So these include Achilles and Patroclus. I think this is my favorite one. In fact, I don't know if I can properly show, but that painting next to the Kingdom Hearts poster is Achilles and Patroclus. It's called The Fury of Achilles, which is when Achilles is marching down the battlefield to kill Hector, right? It's one of my favorite myths of all time. And it started with the Song of Achilles, but I read through the Iliad too by Homer. Oh, so good, dude. So good. There's this one scene that sticks with me that like it's like a knife to the heart, if I'm being honest, which was not in the Song of Achilles, was not in Troy, the movie with Brad Pitt. It's this scene, so beautiful, where once Patroclus dies, is struck down on the battlefield. There's a scene where Achilles walks down the battlefield and all of the fighting stops. Everyone like freezes, like, oh, he's here, oh my god, oh my god. And he's just walking down the battlefield. There's like light shining on him. And he picks up Patroclus's body and walks back to camp. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's so good. It's so good. I love that. I love that scene in the Iliad, dude. I love that scene in the Iliad. It's not in Song of Achilles and it's not in Troy. They just bring back Patroclus's body to camp when he dies. But it's so striking. I love that scene. So that's one. Love the cosmogony, which is basically like how, according to the Greek mythologies, how the world started. You know what I mean? So it's like, God, I mess up his name all the time. Owainus. In the Romanization of it, it's Uranus or Uranus, right? Uranus. Then there's Gaia, there's Tartarus. They talk about like, birthing the giants and birthing the Hecatoncheires, like, Kronos, the Titans, eating the Olympians, all that stuff. You could find that in the poems of Hesiod. So good. I read it for a mythology class in college. Love it. Check that one out. That's another one of my favorites. And finally, of course, Apollo. I love Apollo. I believe that he is my divine, if I was in the Percy Jackson world, he is my divine father, right? My divine patronage. I would be in the Apollo camp. One of my favorite myths about him is him in Hyacinth, right? Where he accidentally kills his boyfriend during a game of ultimate frisbee. And turns him into the hyacinth flower, right? That's basically it. Really love that one. And also, there's this wonderful set of paintings in the Cleveland Art Museum, which is my favorite art museum, where it's him and the muses, right? It's massive. I think it's honestly bigger, like taller than the walls in my apartment. But I love it. I love, like, there's like a bench in front of it. I love just sitting in front of this and just like really taking in like how beautiful and wonderful, finding little small details of like each one, finding the narrative of this set of paintings. So one of my favorites. But all to say, of course, I am a Percy Jackson fan. Of course, I'm a Percy Jackson fan, y'all. Of course. I've told y'all before, I have a shelf on my, my actual bookshelf. That's my play shelf. But my bookshelf over there, just dedicated to Percy Jackson, to the Rick Riordan verse, right? And here are my top 5 Percy Jackson books. Number 5 is The Last Olympian. I'm not too keen on the, I know it's the one that started it all, the Percy Jackson stuff, right? And I like the books a lot. The 5th one is my favorite out of all of them, but compared to like what comes after this, I don't know. I just like it a little bit more. So, The Last Olympian, super good, wonderful ending, wonderful way to characterize Percy's, growth, his first journey, Next is The Trials of Apollo, The Burning Maze. Most of the Trials of Apollo I'm not too keen on, right? I'm just not too keen on it. But The Burning Maze is one of the ones that I first felt like the stakes were raised. I think it's the 3rd book in the Trials of Apollo series. The first 2 books, not my favorite. In fact, it might be my least favorite ones. But The Burning Maze, when the big sad happens, is the first moment that I went, oh, my stomach dropped. And I went, things are serious. Things are serious now. Really, really, really engaging read. I know a lot of people don't like it because of the big sad that happens, which I won't spoil, but I like it a lot. Next, Mark of Athena. I think this one really centers around Annabeth, and I just really like it. This one I remember is like a lot of it is set in Italy. Very beautiful characterization of her and Percy's relationship. It's so good. This one's so good. I love this one. Okay. Top two was really hard to pick. But I think this is going to be really controversial. I think this one's going to be a really controversial, like, 1 and 2. But number 2 for me is House of Hades. House of Hades is so good. The scene where Percy and Annabeth are falling, and all Percy can do is just, like, hold on tight to her. So good. So good. The scene with Cupid and Nico. So good. It's such a beautiful entry. Such a beautiful entry to the entire thing. I cannot get enough of the House of Hades. So good. I will talk about the House of Hades all day, every day. But there is one that I did like more, and I think a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this, but it is, for me, the Tower of Nero. Again, like I said, Trials of Apollo, not my favorite series, but the Tower of Nero was something else. Something else. This was a book I could not put down. This is the book that made me fall in love with, I love the relationship between Nico and Will. I love finally, like, getting a close on Lester's story and kind of, like, understanding his arc and how beautiful that is. I really like Meg in this one. She's really funny. This part had me, like, laughing out loud at certain points. And I just love this book. This was a book I could not put down. I, like, found every excuse in the book just to sit down and read in my armchair. It was so good. So that's my ranking on the Percy Jackson books. I really enjoyed them. But speaking of reading, we're almost done. Speaking of reading, yes, I did read a fan fiction this week, and it was really good, and I couldn't stop reading it. I finished it last night. I was, like, on my bed, just vegetating after stream yesterday, after a really long stream. Oh no, that was on Wednesday. After stream yesterday, vegetated on this bed, read the rest of this fan fiction. So good. It's called The Ordeal of Being Known. Y'all know I love Drarry. I don't really participate in the Harry Potter stuff, but I do participate in the fandom, and I like this. This was a really good one too. Really good fan fiction. Basically, Harry is cursed with not being able to speak, and the only person that can heal him is Draco. It's a really nice tale. Really nice tale. They kind of go through their histories together. It's really nice. So check this one out. Finally, speaking of fan fiction, here's an update on our fan fiction. So y'all voted for a pairing in Final Fantasy 16 that I was going to write about, and the winner of that was Joshua Rossfield and Dion Lesage. Currently, here's where we are. Here's my progress report for you. I am 8 chapters in. I've written 8 chapters, and I am 18,519 words in. And this is still draft 0. What that basically means is I'm kind of just writing. I'm writing from the seat of my pants. I decided that I was going to try something new. Usually I'm a plotter, which means that I, like, plot out, like, this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens. But I decided to try something new. I'm just kind of, like, letting the story flow out of me through writing. It's really bad writing right now. It's like I'm reusing verbs, I'm messing up on spellings. Like, I'm allowing myself to just be a really bad writer for a moment, just so I can get the story out there. And then after that, I will look at the story, plot it. I will analyze it for, this is the trigger, this is the climax, this is the midpoint, and I'm gonna, like, finagle that and then come back to the draft, rewrite it to a good place, and that will be draft 1. Then I'll give it some time and then I'll come back and read through it again and create draft 2. So if y'all are wondering, like, Monty, you keep saying that you're writing this thing, but like, why is it taking you so long? This is why. My writing process takes forever, dude. It takes forever. So that's the reason why. But it's going well. It's going well. I'll give you guys updates as much as I can, but it's going well. Okay, cool. That is the end of HyperFixations. If y'all watching this later on YouTube, I love you, I love you, I love you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.